of the Nerd for No Reason podcast. I am your host, Mark.
And I'm the other host, Raven.
And welcome to a brand new year, brand new show. Woo!
What's up,
Well,
guys? How's everyone's new year going? Hope it's great.
I hope so. One of these days, we're going to integrate some sound effects in here and just go crazy. And get me one of them little push button sound effects machines.
Oh my goodness.
Be like Zoo Time Radio, just ooga, and just play crazy clips from obscure movies.
True, but as long as it's like dumb movie quotes, and then we can
Yeah.
just put them in at places that are like, why?
Originally, back in the day, I wanted to try to do a podcast that was kind of in the format of morning radio, because that just seems like it'd be super fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we got close to it, but I couldn't quite get the kind of, because you got to have like 5 people on
Right.
a show like that. You got to have people fill certain roles. You got to have one guy who's the dumb guy, and you got to have one guy who's kind of like the kind of the lovable idiot, but he's kind of angry. And you got to have a smart guy, and the host is kind of like the main guy who keeps everyone together. And then you got to have a girl and all this other stuff. Like there's these weird elements that every morning show has, and yeah, so
I feel that. All right, fair enough.
yeah. So what you been up to this week, Raven?
Oh, just
Working, living the life.
working, processing the new year, all
Yeah.
the do's and don'ts that come with, a new beginning of a new year. What about you? How's it going?
Working back at office for the first time in a month, and to be honest with you, I'm not thrilled with it.
Yeehaw! What's
yeah.
up? Welcome back to the working world.
Yeah, I was. It didn't take me really long to get caught up, but it just seemed like all the idiots took the time off too. And there was just one day when, because I'm working on this big project, because that's kind of the nature of what I do, and I've been waiting on this one thing to happen. And then when I inquired about it, it was just like radio silence. No one knew what I was talking about, and they literally said, "Was that geared towards me?" And I was like, "Well, there's 33 people on this call right now. Anybody can answer, really." And then I found out that someone went and did something that I'm responsible for and didn't tell me about it, and got really mad. So yeah, it was a whole dang old thing, and I was just like, "You flipping farm filth and just." So
Them good old Southern boys, just.
well, eh. It wasn't even southern, like it wasn't even the Southern boys. Like I think it was someone in Ohio. I have fits with people in Ohio who work up there, and they just drive me crazy. So I don't know. Let's not talk about work because I like this podcast too much. I don't want to talk about work. Start getting wrapped around the axle.
Fair enough.
But one thing I did do this week, like this is very quickly becoming a favorite pastime of mine. Not the first part of this conversation, but messing with AI. And I stumbled sideways into messing with the artificial intelligence
Oh, Lord.
chat bot, the chat GP, I think it's called. Yeah. And what happened is I'm trying to learn Python programming. Okay? Just for like various different, so I can kind of get a handle on this, so that way I can maybe write or modify existing code whenever I like do my little electronic projects with my 3D printing stuff, if I want to integrate electronics.
Fair.
So one way to kind of do that, to cheat at it basically, is to go to this artificial intelligence chatbot. And so I went in there and I was like, "Oh, hey, what is code for this and what is code for that?" And also at the same time, because I'm pretty sure that my ADD brain got the better of me. I was like, hey, I can. I'm also trying to work at doing like the behind the scenes stuff to grow the podcast. And part of that is doing like meta tags and doing all this other stuff. And I found some plugins through the site and just various different promotion things that I thought would help us. And these meta tags are kind of like some HTML thing, or at least that's how it was presented. So I went to the chat bot. I went to Chat GPT is what it's called, OpenAI. And I typed in there verbatim. This is what I typed. I said, can you give me the meta tags, or can you give me meta tags for a podcast called Nerd for No Reason? Thinking that it was going to give me like, oh, HTML, keywords and code and stuff like that I could copy and paste and put into the thing for the podcast. Well, part of the quote unquote meta tags at a base level is basically just a detailed description of your podcast. So here's what it wrote. Title, Nerd for No... This is verbatim what it wrote. Title, Nerd for No Reason, a podcast for people who love learning. Description, welcome to Nerd for No Reason, a podcast for people who love learning about all kinds of nerdy topics. Each episode, we dive deep into new subjects and explore it with curiosity and enthusiasm. From science and technology to history and pop culture, there's no topic too nerdy for us to tackle. So join us and let's geek out together. And then a list of keywords. And I read that and thought to myself, that's better than what I wrote. By a wide margin. Yeah, it's this new AI stuff is scary.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely interesting. I see a lot about it. Mostly like the controversy of it in the art community, which totally understand why people would not want to use it for, copying other people's art. But something like that, that's a little wild.
Another thing that I did, and I kind of did this as a goof, not to do it like for real, just because I was testing out how good it actually was. Because I do value the time and talent and whatnot of an actual artist. So, this is me kind of testing to see what it can do. I spent like an hour sitting there just hammering drawing suggestions into an AI art generator. I started off like Ninja Turtle and cowboy hats. And apparently I learned that my imagination is more wild than than AI art generators, because I'm typing in stuff that I think is pretty simple and it's just like, I don't know. But I did say, hey, I would like a logo for a podcast called Nerd for No Reason. And I'm telling you, it gave me something that it gave me a logo that is almost identical to the one that I made myself.
Nice.
That is our banner. So I'm like, okay, well, cool. That makes me feel a little bit better. Like out of the 4 pictures it gave me, 2 of them were the black horned rim glasses. It didn't have the text right, but I was like, okay, you got the spirit. I could still sue you for stealing my logo.
Yeah.
So yeah. But this AI thing is very weird, and I'm going to a comic convention in a couple weeks, and I plan on doing some interviews, and I'm going to ask these professional artists, these professional comic book artists, about being in the professional space with an AI, AI being what it is now, that, it can essentially create drawings faster, quicker, better, faster. I don't know about better, but you get the drift, and it's a weird landscape we're getting into now. How soon is it before we get a completely AI generated comic book? So
that's weird to think about.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's totally possible though.
Yeah, I mean, I being a former musician, I put in there. I was like, I want you to write me a rap song, a 16-bar rap verse about having money and being the best at what I do and getting all the women. And it wrote something, and it wasn't terrible.
Hmm.
So, yeah, again, maybe I just make an album or a song that is just nothing but AI generated lyrics just to see how it works. So, weird,
Interesting.
weird landscape.
Okay. Okay. All right. Interesting.
And speaking of AI and weird computer stuff, CES is this week, Computer Entertainment Show, or excuse me, wow, wow, that is not right at all. That cons- Consumer
There you go.
Electronics Show. Wow,
You just pulled that straight out of your ass,
man,
didn't you,
I
man?
work I work around too many acronyms in my life,
That's
and
fair.
so
I mean, that's the way of the world at this point, though. Acronyms,
yeah, I mean, I've spent
for
my
real.
entire adult life working around them because I've worked for the government my entire adult life, and if there's one thing that the government does love is acronyms, and there's a different set for depending what aspect of your job you're doing. If you're turning wrenches on an airplane, you have one set of acronyms that mean one thing, and then when you go start working behind a desk like I am now, those same acronyms mean something completely different.
Yeah, no, I get you. I even in like the dog grooming world, we have some that I'm always like I'll just look at them and be like, what? And then it like takes my brain a second because FFS, obviously, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people know you for fuck's sake. But over in the grooming world, people will look at it and be like, face, feet, sanitary. And
Ah,
so sometimes I'm just like, who wrote this? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I did. It's okay. It's not bad in my notes. But yeah.
so
Anyways.
so the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas is happening right now, uh,
Hmm.
in conjunction with the AVNs. By the way, so the Adult Video News Awards, i.e., the Porn Awards. I don't know why they have both of these at the same time, but they do. But the Consumer Electronics Show is going on, and I'm looking at the quote unquote highlights, and I don't see anything that really jumps out at me as like new and breaking, and like they have some cool things, but
Hmm.
to me the coolest thing that I've seen so far is uh, I want to make sure that I get the oh, okay is BMW. BMW introduced a car that changes color, like will give you designs, and like the picture I'm seeing now has a checkerboard yellow and pink design on it that
Okay.
apparently changed right before, as this lady was talking on stage, the rims changed, everything changed on it, and that to me is astounding. um,
That's pretty interesting. I wonder how like, the mechanics of that would work cuz wouldn't that be like essentially screens that are on
I th-
everything?
I think it's a combination of like the same kind of technology that like a Kindle would use,
Mhm.
the digital ink. So, it transmits electrical signals that would manipulate a thin layer of digital ink that would uh, manipulate these colors. I
I'm looking
I
at it now.
believe that's how it works.
It it definitely looks interesting, especially the rims from what I can
Yeah.
see. Okay.
And I know it's only a matter of time. Like, this is the kind of thing that I want to see the hip hop world get a hold of. Because in a world like down south, we have things called donks. And for the uninitiated, a donk is like an older car, like a Monte Carlo or something like that, that has like these huge rims and are lifted and like not hydraulics, but kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, picture like mid 2000s hip hop would probably be a
Mm-hmm.
good example of this. But the rims are so huge that the car has to have like a truck style lift kit on it. And typically these things are adorned with logos of brands, especially in my hometown. There was a point when there was a bunch of donks riding around. One was purple and had a Crown Royal label on it. There was Skittles and Sprite and all this different logos.
Bless.
And I cannot wait for the hip hop community to get a hold of a color changing car and hack it and figure out how to put logos or albums or whatever on the
Ooh.
side of it.
Yeah, that would be really cool, actually.
It's gonna
Good
be
way to like promote
right.
a whole lot of things. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Um,
That's pretty cool, actually. Alright.
let's see some other hits or at least cool things that I've seen. I've seen wireless TVs. Um, by wireless, I guess it just means that it doesn't need to be. I can't I can't see if it's like wireless charging or just we don't have to hook any like HDMI ports up to it because all that's remote and
Mm-hmm.
it just says wireless. And I'm kind of really curious about this.
Right. Like, am I gonna have to replace the batteries for this thing every like month or
Yeah.
something like that? All right.
But in response, but I have a response to that is that
Mhm.
there was what is the name of the thing? Because I'm scrolling through like three different like three different things now. There was one device that I saw where they are working on wireless charging within a meter or like 2 meters of the base station. It transmit RF frequency, so it if you're essentially you could be sitting on your couch with your phone in your hand and it would charge your phone or your watch or your AirPods, not fast,
Mhm.
but you wouldn't have to place it just right on the little charging pad by your nightstand and
Mhm.
hope that it's sitting on there right. You could just put it in this field and it would charge up. I imagine that this is the way forward for most of our technology in 10 years. This is probably you walk in your house and all your devices just charge. Or they're literally on every street everywhere, and every room that you go in is you're just going to be belted with low level RF, and all your devices are going to charge all the time.
Mhm.
We'll
I'm
see.
seeing one that's like VR for your car. Did you see
Yeah,
that? That one's
I
interesting for your like passengers, so they don't get as motion sick and stuff like that.
yeah, but I've found with my VR that if uh if the if I'm in the VR space and it's moving and I am not,
Mhm.
then I start getting motion sickness, and I am not one for motion sickness.
Mhm.
But one of the most popular games out there right now for VR is I think it's called VR Chat, where there's just a bunch of VR rooms where you go and just interact with other people. And I have a hard time moving around in that space
Mhm.
because it's very much first person shooter, but when you're in that environment and your body is just not moving, it's very disorienting.
I can
So I don't
imagine.
know
Ugh.
how that would work for a car.
Yeah. Maybe it's like, I don't know. Can I just like sit there and pretend to be a butterfly and I'm like, you know, like lightly floating in the air, like something like that? That might not be terrible.
No, you can. Of course you can.
That
In
way you
VR,
don't feel
in
the
the
like,
metaverse, you can be anything you want to be.
hey. That's what we love to hear.
I see Paula Abdul is coming out with headphone sunglasses. I don't know how I feel about that because Bose has already had that for many years now. So,
I know. She got to
congrat.
do it the, fashionable women's style.
Yeah, the Paula Abdul way.
Yeah, of course, of course.
All right. Let's see, an 8K projector, which really just seems like overkill at this point, because they're just it. 8K anything at this point is just so expensive.
Hmm.
One of the price points I saw is like, oh, it's not the first 8K projector, but it's something another. But the current 8K projector that's on the market, the cheapest one is 11 grand, and I can't even fathom spending that much money on essentially a TV or a
Hmm.
projector for that matter. Like, it's wild. Oh,
This one that says that it's a lamp that can detect falls. So like
yeah.
if you have an elderly person that lives alone in case they ever like fall, can't reach phone or anything else, they could just have the lamp detect it for you. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, that's pretty
But
cool.
what happens if you have like animals and your animals are constantly jumping on and off stuff? Is it going to
Yeah.
detect that? Like if my cat could like jump down from the fridge all the way to the floor, is it going to be like, "Oh my god, somebody's down"?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. This is this is why I wish I could go to these things and really sit down with these people who made these things and really kind of pick their brain, um, and just see what's going on. Like, see if I could get answers, because no, everything's all the stuff that I found about CES is just like these quick hits. Hey, we got this thing. Cool. Look at this desk that can go from working for kids to all the way to adults. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but I mean, that kind of already exists, and I'm not really interested in that. Like, what makes that so special? But that's all the information you have. On to the next thing. Um, and then we got this record player, and we got all this other things. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but it's all just quick hits. I want detailed information for
Yeah,
something like this lamp, because this seems like this could be cool,
right.
important.
Here's one
Um,
that's like fitness tracking for your dog, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" But then it's like basically like when you wear an Apple Watch or any of those type of watches, where it can like
hmm
tell you the dog's heart rate, oxygen level, stuff like that, which is actually like kind of impressive about the fact that we haven't already had something like that
Yeah.
for dogs that have like their own little issues. Because, some dogs are more prone to certain things than other dogs, like French bulldogs, things
hmm
with the little smushy face.
Yeah.
They're a lot more prone to having issues with their lungs, heart, stuff like that, just because they don't breathe nearly as well. So that's actually really interesting. That's pretty cool. I dig that.
I'm kind of curious about this one too, because it seems like it would be more useful in uh, working dogs, or like
Mm-hmm.
really active dogs, border collies, German shepherds,
Yeah.
the Malinois, those type of animals. Like if I got something like that from my dogs, it'd just be like, yeah, your dog's lazy. She sleeps 22 hours out of the
Right.
day. Uh, you know. So, um, there was one thing. It was on that Wired article I sent you.
Mm-hmm.
This is the dumbest thing I think I've seen in a very long time. The Rollkers. Did you see that one?
Did I scroll past that? Is that little weird bot thing that I looked at?
No, it's they're basically skates, for the lack of better words. They're
Okay.
shoes with wheels on them, and they double your walking speed. And that
Uh,
seems good, I guess, but like
bro,
they look
just slap on some Heelys. Like,
right. Healy seems like a better thing. This does. They just look like terrible skates, and they look like clunky and awkward. And they're showing this guy walking through the city, and it looks like he's just walking slightly faster than the people next to him. It's such a weird thing.
Maybe it's that you then have the feeling of, when you're at the airport and there's those like little moving conveyor belts that move super slow, but if you walk on them, you feel like you're like
Oh
the
yeah.
freaking Flash.
Yes.
Maybe that's how you feel. Which honestly could be kind of cool.
I guess. Yeah, that's actually what it says here. It's an electric motor strapped to your feet. It's almost like you're walking on a moving walkway.
Hey.
Yeah. No, it's almost like
Alright.
you're sliding and walking at the same time.
Get places faster. People in
Do-
New York are just gonna like buy it out because they're gonna be like, "Oh yes, I'm constantly late to my train." Love it. All right,
And then they
that
had
one's interesting.
this one tweet. Wired, kind of shared this video that they tweeted. Someone had a gallery of flops, and I have issues with some of the items in their gallery, quote unquote, gallery of flops of failed products that have from CES's past. One of them was the Zune, and I'm like, that's not really a flop. Like, yeah, it didn't stick around, but I don't know if I'd consider that a flop because it came out and it was, it had its fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And another one was the Wii U, and I was like, "How dare you? How dare you?" I couldn't quite pinpoint what made something a flop. To me, it would be something that never quite fully made it into like full production, kind of like the Google Glasses.
Yeah.
But I knew more people that had Zunes than I had Google Glasses, So it's weird that they wouldn't have that, but they would have a Zune or a Wii U or a Virtual Boy or something like that. But whatever. So that's CES in a nutshell.
All right. Hopefully there'll be like some more cool things that come out from it.
I hope so. We're at this weird point in technology now where I feel like we're right on the cusp of like really wild and cool things. That next level of like, oh, I can't believe we've reached this point with technology. But also at the same time, like for the past couple years, I don't think we've come out with anything where we're like, holy shit, this is going to change the way the entire world works.
Yeah.
So I hope within the next 5 years someone comes up with some process or device or something where it's just like, oh my God, I don't know how we ever lived without this thing. So,
Yeah. It's like so hard to like think about, oh, but what are we living without?
right.
And then it comes out and you're like, oh, we were so stupid for not thinking of this sooner. Like, so I'm like, I don't know how to feel. Do I feel excited? Do I feel like sad that we're not living in the greatest moment of our life? Like, stuff like that.
One of the things that I've been doing on and off for the past couple of years is one of my favorite morning radio shows got canceled right at the beginning of the pandemic, and the show had been on for 30 years or more at the same radio station and had been podcasting for probably the last 15.
Mm-hmm.
And some super fan had gathered all of these radio broadcasts and put them on his website. I was like, I'm going to go back to 2007 and listen to just a bunch of podcasts and listen to what they were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And it was wild thinking about 2007 in a pre-iPhone world.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about, oh, Apple's getting ready to release this this phone that's a combination of like the iPod, but why would we want an iPod phone? And you're just and now you're just there's no way I can explain to my kids life before a smartphone,
Right.
you know. And I distinctly remember when the iPad came out. They were like, "This is just like you know, four iPhones put together. What do we need
Right.
this for? Are we really going to be at a point where we watch movies and stuff like on our phone or on this tablet? What are you talking about?" Fast forward 10 years from that, you know.
Exactly.
So,
There's like both of my grandparents have iPads, and they were asking me if I wanted one. I was like, "What do I need that for?" Like, if I had like important things that I was like, "Oh, I should be, you know, using it for this, this, and this." Like my grandmother just uses hers for um doing like actual work, and then she's old. She wants to be able to look at Facebook as big as she possibly can, but without getting, a giant monitor that's just going to sit there, and she'll have to, you know, constantly be updating because, you get on once a week, stuff like that. So she's like, "Oh, look, I can do all this." And now she uses it for FaceTime. And whenever we have our monthly book club with my family, she just like uses it. And I'm like, "Okay, that makes sense. What does grandpa use this for?" And he's like, sometimes I look up the news." And I'm like, "See, this man doesn't need one." But then you have the people that are like, "Oh, my kids, watch Netflix while I do whatever, while I'm, stuff like that." So,
yep.
like, I see the point of the iPad, but, like, if they make them any bigger to where it's basically just like a massive tablet that's like the size of a MacBook, I'm just going to be like, "No, you lost me." But I don't know. We'll see what comes
Yeah.
up with the future.
You never know what you need until you need it.
Exactly. And then you see someone else has it, you use it for a second, you're like, "Oh,
I got to give me one
I
of
am
those.
missing out on everything great in the world."
All right, before we jump into our movie of the week, because that's going to be a fun one. At least I hope it's a fun one for you, or as fun for you as it was for me. I want to talk about the Games Done Quick, a streamathon that's going on right now. It is a once a year kind of 2 week long charity event for the Games Done Quick organization, where they it's a fundraiser basically, and it is a wonderful, wonderful little thing. It is these people right here that many years ago introduced me to the concept of speed running,
Hmm.
and you can let's see. I'm trying to figure out who oh, I can't find out who they donate to all different kinds of charities,
Hmm.
but literally from for the next week or two, for the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they are going to be streaming speed runs, and it is everything from Breath of the Wild to Symphony of the Night, Borderlands, SSX from 2000, Bomberman 64, Ninja Turtles, Jack and Daxter. Just it goes on and on and on and on, and it's a great charity. It's fun to watch. Most of the time, these guys are just sitting there playing games in a room of a bunch of people, and everyone's cheering and clapping and having a good time. And I recommend that you all just go and watch it, donate some money to some good charities, and you know, chill out and watch some video games because
Yeah.
that's always fun.
And then there's plenty of different games for everyone since it's, 24/7 for 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Go find you go find you a fun game in there. All right. You want to talk movie?
Yeah, I want to talk about this movie. I really want to know because this is we've started getting into movies that neither one of us have seen now, and I want to know what you thought of this one. I'm dying to know what you thought of this one because I watched this one at the beginning of the week and I've been sitting on my feelings for this all week long because usually I watch it try to closer to us recording,
Of course.
so I got it fresh in my brain. I watched it I think on Monday of this week, and I've been sitting on my thoughts all week. Raven, what did you think of this movie? Oh, sorry. I guess we should probably say
I was gonna
what.
say you just wanna. We'll just start talking about the movie. You guys can guess it, I guess.
Raven, why don't you tell everybody what we watched this week?
We watched the 2022 Netflix original Bullet Train.
Was it a Netflix original?
I'm pretty sure it was.
I thought it was
Am
just.
I crazy? I swore it was. Watch now. Yeah, I know I already watched it.
Don't prompt me to rate it.
Ah, I could have swore it said that was a Netflix one. But I might be crazy, to be honest. I don't remember seeing
I don't know.
posters for it. Is the reason that
I don't see like the little Netflix logo in the corner of it. I remember that it came out and was in theaters for a hot minute, but I
Was
don't
it?
remember it being like one of those things where Netflix is, oh hey, nope, Columbia Pictures. It's not a Netflix. They're solely Netflix.
So,
Jam.
anyways, guys, we're watching
Yes.
Bullet Train from 2022. Not from Netflix. We watched it on Netflix.
Yes.
Just in case anyone wants to go watch it. It's not made by Netflix, in case anyone wondered. That's embarrassing. You know who never has their facts together? It's me. Hi, my name is Raven. I just pull stuff out of my ass constantly. Anyways, it
What'd
was
you think?
it was a wild movie. It definitely just keeps taking turn after turn after turn, and I never know what I was going to expect next. I think it was a really fun movie. I think Brad Pitt did super good as just like this laid back dude that's just like, I'm here to make some money. And then the next thing you know, it's, hey, we're here to kill some people. We're also here for the money. And nobody knows what's happening. So we're all just going to keep killing each other. That was my take on the movie.
I don't
think
know what I really expected with this movie, but it wasn't what I got.
Nope.
It
Because
was.
I didn't
Go
even
ahead.
watch like the trailer for it. So I had no idea what it was about. I'm just glad it wasn't at first when I looked at the name of it and the poster front for it, I was like, I swear to God, if it gives me like Liam Neeson type vibe, where
That's
it's
exactly
like,
what I was thinking.
I'm here for my daughter, blah blah blah, like something like that, I'd be like,
Right.
oh God, why do we watch this? But no, it's comical. It's got like some really good actors. I like the fact that it has a diversity of characters.
And it's got like the cool, like bright and shiny graphics to it too,
Yeah.
which is really cool. Yeah, it's got the actors in it are just great because the only person I knew who was going to be in this movie was Brad Pitt. Because I think I'd seen the trailer like partially, and I was just like, oh yeah, cool. Like we'll check it out. And I think I just picked this one off the cuff because I knew it was on Netflix, and I was like, we don't have to go far to watch it, you know.
Yeah.
But the fact that like Aaron Taylor Johnson's in it, the guy from Kick Ass, I didn't even recognize him at all because he's got a mustache and long hair.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Tyree Henry, who from Atlanta, and I love that show, and he's putting on a British accent and killing it. Like, dude, Zazie Beetz, who is my favorite actress at the moment. I love her to death. Again, from Atlanta. This is just a super fun movie, and I was so impressed at how, from a writing standpoint, of how everything comes together, and I don't think there's any loose ends. I don't think so. I don't want to say that and then someone come in the comments and be like, "Oh, well, they didn't do this." I think they tied everything up in a bow, real nice and neat,
Mm-hmm.
and you understand everyone's motivations and how they got in the situation they were in, and it is just astonishing.
It really keeps your focus the entire time because you, like I said, you never know what's going to happen next. You start it off, and it's like some lovely Japanese men talking about, you know, hey, family's important. Got to take care of whoever tried to kill your son. And then the next thing you know, you're just on a little bus, or not a bus. What are those things? Train. It's a train.
Train, yeah.
You're on a lovely little. Once again, just making things up.
The name
I
of the
sw-
movie is called Bullet Train, Raven. Not Bullet Bus, not Bullet Car, Bullet
pla-
Train.
planes, trains, and automobiles. It's
Right.
anything that moves. That's what we're talking about. Anyways, you just get on this little train, and it just takes off. And nothing, just like, you don't expect anything from this whirlwind of a movie. Because you've got Brad Pitt doing his own thing. You've got the twins. You got Lemon and Tangerine, who I love them. They were such a fun like group together.
I want a prequel movie with just them two.
Right? Like I want to know how these two came together. Also, I love their names just because like that's adorable.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, are these nicknames? Are there actual names? Who knows? And they're over there taking care of Logan Lerman, uh, the old Percy Jackson.
That's who that was.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
good old Percy Jackson. And then you find the Joey King doing her little thing, acting. I don't know how old she was supposed to be in this movie. Like, I don't know if she was supposed to look like a teenager, like early 20s. I really couldn't tell you. But she was pulling off like some little schoolgirl outfit just
Mm-hmm.
so it would confuse the heck out of you. And I was like, what's happening here? Cuz she's really kicking some ass. But she looks like she just got done with, sophomore class. And you're
Mm-hmm.
just like, "Oh, well, do your thing, girl. You beat up these men." Uh yeah, it's a ride for sure. Let's see.
Um, the this the story the story was so good because I'm such a huge fan of uh, creating rules. I've said this before, and I'll say it every time, that when you establish a set of rules in your world that you're living in, you know, you gotta stick with them.
Mhm.
And the fact that like Brad Pitt's character is, trying to do better and doesn't use a gun and all that, and how that leads to all this, and he has a chance to get a gun but he doesn't, and just, again, such a wild such a wild ride, and everything pays off. Everything.
Mhm.
The exploding spoilers, because it's hard to really talk about anything in detail without spoiling certain aspects of this movie. So just spoilers ahead. Um, the exploding gun, the booby trapped gun,
Mhm.
was such a good payoff, I think. Because there were so many times when I thought it was going to get used before it got used, and it didn't. The snake, the snake incident, where he gets the anti venom, so now he's immune. So when he gets bit, nothing happens, and even though that's total, in
Of
real
course,
life
yes.
that's total nonsense, but within the scope of this world, we're cool. We get it. Yeah, yeah, man. And bullet trains, I've ridden on bullet trains before. They're awesome. That trip, I've made the trip that they made from Tokyo to Kyoto.
Hmm.
Um, that's like a 3 hour trip, if that. Probably not even that, but it's almost like as if this movie's playing out in real time. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, maybe like I wonder if it was like almost one of those one-shot type things that they went for,
they might have had,
which would have been pretty cool.
but even at the end when we're in Kyoto, the I really like how all the visuals, like even when we're in Kyoto at the end, all the colors are still kind of amped up. Like everything is just not necessarily real, but everything's heightened, almost cartoonish. That's the word I'm looking for. Almost kind of cartoonish, but still, it doesn't take me out of it. In the
Right.
best possible sense of the word, it's very Japanese, like that kind of neo Japanese bright colors and things and characters and all this. Like it's like got a little bit of Japanese spice sprinkled all over it.
Hmm.
And I mean that, and I mean that with like the aesthetic of everything,
Yeah.
and it really lends itself to a lot of just the visuals, you know. So, yeah, I love this. This starting off 2023 with a bang, as far as I'm concerned.
I really enjoyed like the visuals on the train. I've never actually ridden on, a train like that except for while in New York. But, New York City trains are a little bit different than these interesting little bullet trains like they had on here where it's like every car was different
Mm-hmm.
and like they were own their own like little unique little section because you had this beautiful big bar area where Ladybug first meets the wolf
Yep.
and they like have their whole fight in there, which that little area was just like pretty on its own. You have the like quiet area where
Oh yeah.
Tangerine and Lemon are, and then there's like that whole little debacle that they go through with it was Lemon, where Lemon and Brad Pitt's Ladybug are like having an argument and he's like, "Shh, we're in the quiet train." And he's over there trying to be like, "Hey, screw you, man." And then they just start fighting and there's that one old lady that just keeps turning around. She's like, "I'm going to tell the conductor." And he's like, "Go ahead. What are you going to do?" I really liked whatever this little mascot thing was that they had. I don't know if it was supposed to be a cat or a bat or maybe like a little in between thing,
Yeah.
but that room looked so cute and cozy, and I would probably just want to take a nap in there. But it was just very interesting to watch as everything continued to unfold as the people like start depleting and you're like, how is nobody noticing any of this? Like,
Right.
who is not finding all of these bodies or the amount of just chaos that's going on? But I don't know how big this train actually is, so maybe it's just like,
Well, they clear that up at the end. Well, towards the end when what's the name? White Death. Is that who it is?
Yes.
When he says, "I've bought all the tickets on the train." So everyone, once you get to a certain point on the tracks, he's like, "I've bought the rest of the tickets on the train. Like you're not gonna. Everyone else is off. You know."
But where's your conductor? Where's the little girl pushing the cart? Like stuff like that. Where'd they all go? Did they also just be like, "Hey, get off at the next, stop.
Well,
Nobody wants you here."
I think the one girl with the cart got knocked out.
Yeah.
I think the Hornet got a hold of her. Actually, yeah, she did because she took her clothes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh. And the biggest spoiler and biggest surprise of this whole movie for me was the Ryan Reynolds cameo, which I can only imagine was a 1-for-1 cameo that because Brad Pitt was in Deadpool 2 for like literally a second.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there was like, okay, well, you got to come and cameo in my movie because he's only in there for probably about 2 seconds, and
Right.
that's it. Never shows back up. And Channing Tatum, given the performance of a lifetime, as far as I'm concerned.
Bless the man. He was ready to do anything for that $200.
Yeah, it was.
He's like,
Is this the gay stuff?
"Is this where it happens?" It really is a good movie. It's surprisingly on like IMDb has a 7.3 out of 10 rating, which I'm a little surprised isn't higher. I think like even if you're not into like the super like fight actiony type thing, it's still a good movie. Like
Right.
visually, it's beautiful. The plot just it just never ends. And so like I would want to sit around and just be like, I just have to know where this is going. Because people would literally get killed and then like 20 minutes later it's like, "Actually, I was just asleep. I'm feeling better now."
Yeah. And there for sure is a point in this movie when it like the third act of this movie is an assault on the senses in the best way possible, where it is just it never lets up. It's going and going, and just when you think you're out of it, and you can almost kind of feel that same kind of exhaustion in Brad Pitt's character, where it's just like, oh man, come on, like just
Right.
let me get to this thing, let me get done with this. But you as the audience member don't feel that. You're just like, something's going to happen next, but you feel that kind of exhaustion through the characters where everyone, because it's just go 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 go, and the characters just like, what are we doing next? Like, whose arc do we have left to catch up to? And I guess the kind of longest one, but before the big reveal of what their kind of arc was the girl,
Joey King's
yeah,
the
Joey.
prince.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I definitely was not expecting her ending part where she's like, "Father." And I'm like, "What? What? How did you get on this train?" And then it like appears that her and Logan Lerman were like siblings of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
where
Yep.
father was just like, "I don't want to put time and energy into this little girl."
Right.
But dude, her ending part. Okay, let's talk about the ending for a second.
Okay.
Where Brad Pitt was about to get shot. Next thing you know, he goes to like pull trigger. Man's face gets like cut in half, gone, explodes. And everyone's like, "What the heck just happened?" They turn around to see the prince, Miss Joey King, just like, "Ha ha ha ha. It's me now. I'm better. I'm better than everyone. I'm the what was it? The White Lotus?"
Yeah, or uh,
Oh no.
the I know what you're talking about. The
Come back here. I just had everyone pulled up.
Yep,
And
me
of
too.
course,
Um, the white.
the White Death.
That's it.
There we go. We get to the White Death, and she's like, "I'm the White Death now," and then she's about to like, start doing her little shooting rampage. Truck comes flying through, and then you see tangerines everywhere. I was like, "There's no way this wasn't like planned, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I love when they go back to where Lemon jumps off the train, shoots homie, finds the dude in the truck, and is like, "I'ma take her out." I love that part and the ending. That it's just like, this is for my brother. I love it. Yeah,
Oh, yep.
it's definitely a
Wonderful.
wild ride. I would say anyone that is listening to this that hasn't watched it, go give it a watch. Just sit down, have a nice little relaxing moment, and just fully invest yourself into it because it's a good time. That's for sure.
All right. Let's talk about my favorite thing of every episode. Raven. We've it's first week of the new year. We've had our breaks. We've gone back to work. We've started our grind again.
Oof.
What has made you happy this week in the midst of all this going back and getting back to our normal life? What is the happiness that you've experienced this week?
Uh, some of us didn't get, a month long break from working, which is cool. I've been doing the grind. I've been doing my thing. So
Hold on just a second. I have to interrupt you.
absolutely not.
This is this is a fantastic thing. I'm gonna hijack your comment here for just a second because happiness just came in here and told me good night.
Oh.
My oldest daughter, Alice, just came in here and told me good night, and she's wearing one of those face masks,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, and she got it on, and she looks ridiculous because it's like a yellow face mask. It looks,
Yeah.
and it's got like a little chibi anime figure on the side. And she came in and she's like, "Good night," and she looks like a cat, like old boy from Silence of the Lambs, like she's just about to just.
Oh yeah, Hannibal Lecter
Good
over
night,
there.
Amy. I thought you were in bed. Okay, good night. Go to bed, baby. I love
She
you.
also
Okay.
has to say goodnight.
All right, go. Okay, so yeah, I will let you continue with your moment of happiness. Good night, Alice. Good night.
This is Mark's moment of happiness. Is just telling his kids good
It's
night, love you girls, and then he gets to have whatever time he wants.
yeah. I'm so tired right now. I can't wait to go to bed.
Right. Uh, my moments of happiness. I actually went home this weekend, um, to do a special breakfast for Chris's grandparents. Chris's grandfather was diagnosed with brain cancer right before I moved to Lexington, and there's been a lot of issue that has gone on with that. And he had brain surgery right before I left. And once he woke up from surgery, he could no longer taste anything. And we were like, oh, that's really unfortunate because this man loves to grow like all his fruits and vegetables. He loves eating a lot of like fresh foods and stuff. He loves tasting and like it's a big thing in that family where he's like things need to taste right, blah 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 blah. That kind of stuff. He's a big foodie. But he lost all of his taste and the doctor was like it's most likely never going to return. I can't say that it won't. I can't say that it will. But unfortunately, that's that. Out of nowhere, he just woke up one morning and had taste again. Like there was nothing that led up to it. And it was just like this revolutionary thing for him to be like, oh my gosh, things things are good again because I
Hmm.
can at least taste all the delicious meals that my wife is now going to prepare. So we went and we made a lovely little breakfast casserole that he also hasn't, he didn't have like a huge appetite during that whole time just because, if you're not tasting anything, you're like, what's the point of eating?
Yeah.
So he ate a lot of that. I also made a Dutch baby. He also really liked that. Um, and then I spent the rest of that day going to a bunch of my friends' houses, clipping some dog nails, and then hanging out with like all of my favorite people from Baskin Robbins and just having a great time. I had probably one of the best weekends that I've had since I left for Lexington, honestly. So it was just a really nice time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
What about
very
you?
that's very nice.
Thanks.
Mine's a little different than what I usually say because usually I'm like, oh, I've been playing video games or doing something. Mine too is a little bit more um, communal, I guess we'll say.
Hmm.
When I went on my cruise, or before I went on my cruise last month, I was at church and I was talking to a friend of mine at church, and I was talking about scuba diving and how much I enjoy it. And she brought up that scuba diving just seems so kind of claustrophobic, if you
Hmm.
will. Just kind of like this daunting task of all of my life giving air is in a tank strapped to my back, and that just seems scary. Like, what happens if I run out of air? And she was, as I'm describing swimming down 100 feet deep around all these nurse sharks and stuff.
Hmm.
And then when I went scuba diving a couple weeks ago on this cruise, and the weather was all bad, but as I was underneath of the water, everything was fine. And I kept thinking about her,
Hmm.
like if she could be here and see, all this fantastic, just beautiful life, as it were, I'm sure this would change her mind. And plus, with all as rough as it is up there, once you get 15 feet below the surface, it's perfectly calm. It's quiet. It's intriguing. It's a brand new world. And I told her this story, and apparently that is the thing that she needed to hear in her life at that moment.
Hmm.
And I think that I have convinced her to at least try it at a
Hmm.
very base level of like putting on the gear and getting in a swimming pool and, you know, saying, okay, let's try this and see if you like it. And I was talking to her today about it, and she genuinely seemed, she said the words like, I am excited to try this. And honestly, that makes me feel great. I feel like I've really, like, genuinely changed someone's life who was a month ago like, oh, that seems so scary to me, to now someone who is genuinely excited to put on the gear, get in some water, and try it. And that has made me feel like $1 million this week.
Nice. That's really cool.
So,
Because I totally understand her rationale and fear of that. Because I also have a huge fear of water. So I can't blame her. I
well,
love watching like ocean documentaries and like being like, man, I bet it's cool to actually like, you know, if you're like big into the seep deep fishing and stuff like that, like if you're on those harsh waters, like I think that it's super cool and stuff. But I know myself, I would be not only miserable because of how like terrified I am, but I don't think that I could like even like manage it.
honestly, well, for me, it's like nothing. It's like nothing else. I
Yeah.
can't. I can't even. I can't even just like describe it to anything except what I imagine flying to be like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you get underneath the water, it's almost like you shut down half of your senses, because you can only hear so much. You can only do this. You're kind of you're seeing all of this stuff that you wouldn't normally get to see, but it's not like this physically tasking thing, to swim around like you would on the surface, as you're trying to like fight against the waves or do all this other stuff. It is just, like I said, it's probably just the closest of what I would imagine flying to be. And it's like you're in this alien world. Like I was swimming around, not like right next to, but they were in the vicinity. I saw a bunch of them, but these huge reef sharks. And they weren't messing with me. I wasn't messing with them, but they were just swimming there. And I'm like, look at this. Look at this shit. It is so, so cool. I swam through a sunken ship,
I'm sorry.
No, you're
I just
fine.
got super choked up. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Okay. I think I'm done dying.
Okay. No, I saw
A ship?
lobster. Yeah, a ship. A lot of places out there will sink ships to create like artificial reefs.
Uh-huh.
And it works because there was a ton. I dove this exact same area back in March of last year when we went on a cruise there, and while the weather was nicer and the water was a little bit clearer, this Christmas time dive that I did was second only to when I dived it the first time. There was still a ton of wildlife. There was, it's still a very cool thing to do because we literally swam like through, like the bow of this ship that they sunk, and there's all coral and all these crazy sea creatures. It's amazing. It is so extremely cool to me, and I am very upset with myself in retrospect that I lived in a place where I could have gone scuba diving literally every weekend, and I didn't do it when I lived there and had just gobs of disposable income. I was just like, I'm gonna go get drunk and try to find girls. That's what early 20s Mark was all about. Like, I'm just gonna go drink all the time, when I should have been out there scuba diving because I probably would have had more fun. So,
You live, you learn.
yeah, I mean, not to say I didn't have a whole lot of fun drinking.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I burned the candle at both ends.
Fair enough.
So, all right. So, Raven, where can everyone find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on the Instagrams at That's So Raven Ellis. Or we can do the Twitters at spooky__Raven. What about you, my mans?
Cool. You can find me at Turtles Do It on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find the show at Nerd for No Reason on Instagram and Twitter as well. And guess what, Raven?
What?
We have a very special show next week because we, as of right now, as of this recording, we have our first guest coming on next week.
Hey.
I know. I'm excited. I'm not going to say who it is, but he's a friend of mine. He is a writer, and I cannot wait to see him, to talk to him about his projects he's got going on, and we let him pick the movie we're going to talk about next week. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited to bring a guest onto the show, and I can't wait.
It's going to be a fun time.
I think it is. So, well, with that, I want you guys to go out and do something wonderful in the world today.
you guys go ingest all your medias and share with us what you want us to, you know, watch, talk about, rate, review, and subscribe.
Yeah, click that like button. All right, goodbye, everybody.
I be choking
Yeah.
straight hard. Good God.
Get it all out. Get it all out.
Dude, I don't know what's happening. I think I've ingested a ton of nail Dremels within the past 2 weeks. Because, like,
Oh.
yeah, it's disgusting. I hate it. But, like, randomly, for, like, a few days now, I'll just, like, start choking out of nowhere. And so I'm like, I need to start wearing a mask. And I'm grooming again. Gross. So yeah, one day when I'm like, wow, I have all this stuff in my lungs. It's gonna be little particles of dog nails and hair
Oh.
because that's lovely old groomer's lung.
Yeah, you gotta wear a mask.
Yeah,
It
I need to
doesn't.
start doing it again.
That don't even sound good, especially with like, you talking about when you get to grooming them dogs that are all matted or whatever. I can imagine that
Yeah,
they probably got dirt and dander and all that other stuff.
Oh, they do, dude. Sometimes we literally like will blow out dogs, that, especially like Australian shepherds, like German shepherds, stuff that need a massive de-shed. When you blow them out, you see a bunch of hair flying around everywhere, and then you take them to the tub, you come back, and then you realize my table is covered in like a bunch of white stuff, which is like just all the like dander and stuff that has just been
Oh.
sunken into their coat, and I'm like, this is disgusting.
How bad do huskies just scream at everything?
They're
'Cause they
pretty
really,
annoying. Let's
they
be
really
real though.
Yeah,
I have Kavik.
yeah.
Like, bringing Kavik into the shop when I made sure that there would be no other dogs. He was a menace. He sat there and he screamed while we did his nails. I couldn't even like really do his nails. I just got enough to like clip, 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 while 3 people were like holding him down. One of them being Chris. We had to muzzle him. We had to like strap him to the table. He was a nightmare. I was like, you are literally the biggest baby ever. It's not that bad. Because Kavik hasn't gotten his nails clipped. Like, anytime that we would take him to PetSmart for like the past like 2 or 3 times before I started grooming, they'd be like, yeah, we couldn't get his nails. And we were just like, that's fine. We know he's kind of an asshole. No, it's not even that he's just an asshole. It's that he literally just like throws a tantrum. He's not even like trying to bite or anything, but he does what we like to call alligator rolling, which they tried to like essentially break off of the table and like swirl around. It's
Huh.
chaos. And then we got him in the tub to give him a bath. And of course, he like howled and he screamed. He's just like, "This is the worst. I'm miserable." And I'm like, "You're fine." We put him under the dryer. He sits there and he screams. The only time that he wasn't really screaming is when I was finally just like shaping him up. Even though he was still like, I want to go home. This is awful. Like he was just kind of pouty. But yes, no. Huskies, breed similar to them. Also, Shibas. Shibas will
Yeah.
also do a lot of screaming. So like any of those type of dogs that are like big into like the howling or the like type things, they will 100% just go in at it. It's cute for a bit, and then after a while, you're like, all right, you could tone it down. And
I've had
that's
enough
why
of
we
this shit.
wear noise canceling headphones. But yeah, it's the fun life I live. And I do very much enjoy hanging out with silly little dogs that decide they just need to scream the whole time.
Well, it sounds both fun and terrible at the same time.
It is. Oh, for sure.
On
Sometimes you like get like a dog that you're like, God, this dog was the worst. I don't even want to take photos of it. Because I try to take photos for my Instagram to post, and then just like also to send like to the homies to be like, here you go, here's dogs I did this week, so everyone can see cute dogs. And then I like look at the photos and I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't that horrible. These are some good photos. Like at least it looked cute. I just like try to convince myself it wasn't the worst experience of both of our lives.